A very good day to all of you out there. This is admav here with another episode of admav's Corner. It is August 31st, 2023, literally the last day of August. And that's why I'm recording this podcast, because I want to stick to my schedule of one podcast episode a month. Although I'll elaborate on this a little further down. But welcome. As always, you're all welcome here. This is a safe space to think about and discuss anything that you might be pondering or contemplating on. Yeah. It's, I'll be honest, this was, I almost forgot about doing this podcast, but then I remembered last minute. I've just been very busy. Life is caught up, and I've just been running around. And not like that's a negative thing or a bad thing. It's just taken up a lot of my time, and I'm grateful because these things are like I said, there are good things that are happening in my life. So I'm grateful. I'm happy for the most part. But I didn't want to neglect this because this podcast has been so good to me. It has been very good to me. It has allowed me to express things. It has allowed me to talk about things that normally would just be in my head. But as I'm able to verbalize that and put it out there, not only is it helping me, but it's also giving you guys perspective, or at least I hope it is. And just giving you something to maybe think about or reflect on. You know, the last few episodes of being all about the being in the present, and this is no different because it's just something that I've really been, I guess you could say, obsessed about. But I really just want to focus on that because I want to be better at it, and I think I've been better this whole summer, but I'd like to continue to focus on that, to focus on learning to be present and whatnot. So, I hate to sound repetitive, I hate to be redundant, and that's part of the reason why. I guess I'm here to announce that I will be taking a break from podcasting. I will be taking a break from admav's Corner. It's not permanent. I'm not saying that this is the end of it, but I am taking a break. I feel like I need a bit of life to live through. I need a little bit more growing to be able to continue with this podcast. Otherwise, I'm just going to be regurgitating the same things that I've been thinking about. Because, you know, even when I made the decision to do this once a month, it feels like sometimes I still don't. It's not enough time for me to really experience anything of note that I feel like I can share, that can provide some kind of new perspective or some kind of value to your life. And I know that's not really necessarily the main goal of this channel. That's what I'd like it to be for. But because I know maybe some of you just enjoy my stories or me sharing things about myself or the things I've been through. But I think I need a break. And I'm feeling very sure in that. And in the past, I would maybe think, oh, am I just quitting on this? Am I giving up on this? And it's not really the case for me here. This podcast, I started it. It was never to be some sort of life guru or advice giver. It was never. I never thought about it ever going anywhere in terms of it becoming a major podcast or a podcast with some kind of, fame or anything like that. It was really just for me, my friends, my family, and whoever was viewing this. Like, I just wanted to share my perspective on life and how I've handled certain things that I've gone through. And if you found anything interesting or useful, that's that's really all I wanted to do. So yeah, that's the big thing, I guess, that I wanted to make sure that I got out there with this podcast. With that said, uh, yeah, the summer was fleeting. You can say that it's fleeted. It's the end of August. It's the last day of August, and so September starts tomorrow. We really are at the end of summer. It's not quite fall yet. We're in that transitionary period where there's still hints of summer there, but you know it's on its way out. And usually that's a very um and that could be a very distressing and jarring time for some people because some people are really attached to the summer. Summer is a beautiful time of year. The sun is out, life is in full bloom. Uh, you're you're out there, hopefully, out there having fun with your loved ones, whether it's your friends or your family. And it's just this amazing time that always feels so short lived. But a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts, to borrow a quote from Vision. And that's why this whole focus, the last 3 months on my podcast, or 4 months now, about being present, about being in the moment, is such a big deal because things don't last. But a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts. Something is special because it's finite. There's an end to it. Whether it's relationships, a job, an endeavor, your life, it's all finite. Things end. Things come to an end. And I know that sounds almost ominous, as if I'm saying that this podcast is ending. And sure, it is, at least for the time being. There are just some things coming up where I know I'm going to be busy, and I just won't be able to give as much attention to this podcast, the attention and focus that it deserves. As well as, like I mentioned previously, I want to be able to talk about things that I feel like are worth talking about because right now, yeah, there's not much else that I feel like I could share that's new at this point. And for me to just keep pumping out episodes just feels like I'm doing it for the sake of doing it, you know? And I don't want that. That's not how I live my life. At least that's how I feel. And I'd like to think that that's how I live my life, that where I don't want to be here for the sake of being here. You know, I recently watched The Last Dance, amazing documentary on the life of Michael Jordan and his Chicago Bulls. And obviously the most of the focus is on him, rightly so. He's the greatest basketball player to ever do it, one of the greatest athletes of all time, one of the most interesting people of all time. And the documentary The Last Dance is one of my favorite documentaries of all time, if not one of my favorite things to ever watch. I've I've watched that documentary so many times now. But I've recently rewatched it again, and the last few episodes really focuses on Jordan and his ability to be present, his ability to live in the moment as it happens, and which has helped him in his life, in his successes, in his the tragic things that he's had to go through, the tough times that he's had to endure. His ability to be present kept him grounded. And above all else, above his prowess in the game of basketball, his athleticism, his skill, his charisma, all admirable things. But the most admirable thing for me, the thing I admire the most about him was his ability to stay present. And yeah, the whole ending sequence of that documentary, the last couple of episodes, just brought a tear to my eye. because that's what I want to aspire to be. It's not about the basketball. It's about his philosophy and his view on life and how he lived it. I don't necessarily, want to be involved with his, because that's him. That's for his in his world in the sport of basketball. He had to be a tyrant, right? In terms of being a tyrant in the locker room, he was hard on his teammates, sometimes or arguably too hard, you know. And I don't necessarily want to do that. I feel like I don't need that. But what I do aspire to be is to be present the way he was, because that helped him tremendously in his life. And there's this particularly powerful sequence, right? Where at the end of the sixth championship, the last dance, that's what it was called. The last dance was the final championship of Michael Jordan and his Chicago Bulls back in 1998, when they won that against the Utah Jazz. Phil Jackson, the coach, the head coach, took all of his players and they had a get together. They had a powwow around a bonfire. And Phil had every single teammate, including himself, to write something about the team, why it's important to them, what it means to them, and the entire thing, their entire career with the team, their entire time with the team, the struggles they went through. Phil wanted them to express something about that. And then they all proceeded to read what they wrote in front of each other. They shared, they bonded over that, and then they burned the note in the fire. The notes that they'd written, they burned it in the fire. It's beautiful. It's powerful stuff. You can't help but be teary-eyed. It was coming to an end, their run, their dynasty. And yet there they were, appreciating every single thing that had transpired, everything they went through, all the highs, all the lows, all the successes, all the failures. There, written on paper and fed to the fire to say goodbye. The finality to it is beautiful. A thing isn't beautiful because it lasts. Things have to end. Although, wouldn't it be beautiful if there was something that could transcend the finality of time? Thank you for everything. I cannot say that enough. For everyone and anyone that has ever listened to my ramblings, to my thoughts, to my self-expressions, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I am extremely grateful to all of you. I love you all. I wish nothing for the best for all of you. I wish nothing for personal growth for all of you and personal discovery, because those are important things, the most important things going through this life. And not to sound, not to sound like some sort of motivational speaker or, but stay hungry. Stay hungry for growth, for learning. Life has so many things to offer. And it can be overwhelming, but you don't have to take everything that it offers you. You pick whatever it offers you, and you run with it. Possibilities are endless, and I really mean that. It doesn't mean that you'll be able to tap into all those possibilities, but you can choose. It's up to you. Life is what you make of it. I wish for all of you to be able to stay in the present, to live in the moment, be able to appreciate the past, and look on to the future, not with anxiety, not with worry, though those things are very normal, but with a sense of hope that things will work out. That along the way, despite how difficult it may become, that you would grow and learn. I'll see you all next time. There will be a next time. But goodbye for now. If we said bye before, it stands to reason that we say hello again.